r/ask Reddit. What's the one thing you regret doing for your wedding day? Letting my ex-mill dictate pretty much everything. It stopped being our wedding and became her wedding. And she is crazy. The whole wedding was no longer focused on my wife and I but my mill handing my wife off to me. Which is really ironic because after that moment Mill became even more controlling. Some things she did. She had a mommy-daughter dance. Made an 30-minute long speech about raising my wife. Including playing several inappropriate baby videos. Made a toast to herself. Cut the cake with my wife. Tossed the bouquet herself. Tried to outcast my small family party of 6. To the corner. Departed the wedding in our limo with us. This is the weirdest one. The bridal lingerie literally said mommy's girl. The wedding was ruined for me. The worst part? It set a precedent that my mill can do whatever she wanted in our relationship and my wife would always choose her side. This eventually caused a split after Mill spanked the hell out of my daughter and my wife took her side. It just kept getting worse with each bullet point. Like reading the original list of things about Kevin. A reception line. I got talked into it. I didn't want to do it but felt pressured. All I did for 3/4 of my reception was stand and say hello to people. It was miserable and took a lot of the fun out of the day. Seems like most people's regret can be drilled down into doing what their parents wanted them to do. Reading this thread is making me really glad we didn't have a true wedding. My husband and I always wanted to do Courthouse. And apparently I never made that clear to my parents. My in-laws were cool with this. And we told them we would wait till they visited in May but COVID ruined that and they told us not to wait on them. My dad though, spent 5 months trying to convince me that my husband had to ask his permission. Said he wouldn't accept it otherwise. Begged us to get married in a church. When we are both agnostic and my dad doesn't even attend mass anyways. Just wanted that cause it's what my cousins did. And then begged and pleaded we have a reception so he could have a party like all of my cousins did. I hate attention. Weddings. Parties. All of it. I don't even like drinking outside of my own home. We got married right after lockdown lifted in our state. But I told my parents not to come because our county was still bad and my dad was pissed. Said he would show up anyways. But he never did, thank duck. It was just us and my friend who took our photos. Perfect in my eyes. I've never understood that nowadays. Most likely, a bride's father already knows the person she plans to marry. What's the point in asking? My dad has 2 daughters. He has flat out said that if some guy ever comes asking for permission, his response will be I don't know. Ask her. I regret not hiring a DJ. It's not only music. They help with the flow of the wedding. Flower toss. First dance. Money dance. Whatever you want. We cut corners where we could and that was one I regret. I wrote this in another comment. But a good DJ is important. A professional DJ know how to read the crowd and set the mood. You can have a playlist and try running it from a phone. But any DJ knows that no matter how you plan in advance how the audience will react, it never goes that way and you have to quickly switch it up. My husband and I went off alone to be married in the woods. No regrets on that. But I regret not going further off trail for the actual vow exchange. A lady on a horseback yelled at me that the white thing on your head is scaring my horse. That was the universe giving you a golden opportunity to tell someone duck you and the horse you rode in on in perfect context. Well, we could have had the wedding in fall 2019. But my wife wanted more time to make sure everything was perfect. So we decided to have it in the 20th of April 20. What's the worst that could happen? It's not like the whole world is going to stop in the spring. Getting a friend to video. It's crap. I remember when my dad got married to my stepmom and I was around 12 or 13 years old. At the time, I had a weird obsession with photo and video cameras and spent a fair amount of time fiddling with them. My dad handed me the camera and I went around taking candid videos of people at their tables. No interviews because I'm ducking 12 and shy as hell. Later on my dad took the camera from my hands and gave it to my stepmom's brother to do interviews and talk to people at the wedding. For the rest of the remaining tape, he recorded video interviews of his own wife, daughter, and son. My dad actually pulled me aside after the wedding to tell me he regretted not letting me hold onto the camera because I actually got some good footage of everyone at the wedding. To be completely fair, I understand why my dad trusted a full-grown adult over his preteen son to take a video of an extremely important occasion. Letting a homeless guy into our reception venue to use the restroom. Half hour later, he's still in there. A few of my guests jimmied the door open and found him passed out on heroin. We had a homeless guy come into our wedding and was let in by the uppity wedding planner because he was wearing a Jack Daniels shirt, and our minister family is named Jack Daniels. True story. He signed our wedding book, wish I was getting married, and then stole my bridesmaid's wallet in the aforementioned planner's car. So, you know, a memorable day. Letting the photographer dictate where we should be for the entire night. Going back, I would have told him do all the photo poses you want in the first hour, then leave us alone. Also would have had someone walk around with us when we said hi to each table to help us get out of drawn out conversations to make it go faster. Oh, that's a good one. About having someone break up the conversation at tables to move you along. Tiny wedding in a beautiful state park. I forgot the rings in the car and my dad was kind enough to jog back and get them. That's the only regret I have for that day. I first read that a skate park. The best man doing an ollie during the vows was a nice touch. As it turned out, getting married. Marrying the wrong person. Not exactly a regret, but just a reminder to keep things in perspective. Looking at my grandmother's wedding photos, she pointed out her bridesmaids wearing matching hats. She remembered these hats were important and there was some big to do about them. For the life of her, she couldn't remember what exactly, and you certainly couldn't tell from the pictures. Just remember that when you're having heated debates over the correct shade of blue for the napkins. My rule for our wedding was no one knows what it was supposed to look like. I kept things really simple and straightforward. No big centerpiece flower arrangements. Just a rough cut slice of wood from the local tree fella with 3 painted wine bottles and a few flowers. Kids were allowed and I bought a little cheap coloring book and crayons to keep them entertained. No big ball gown dress. Just a simple white dress from a local retailer. Same with shoes. Just a cheap pair. No fancy car. Just my dad's car with ribbons on it. You know what? We all had a fantastic time. We have some lovely memories of the day. We didn't break the bank nor have a nervous breakdown over minute details. Stuffing cake in my wife's face. No exaggeration. I regret it to this day. One of the traits of a successful marriage is to protect your spouse. With words. With your actions. Protect in this case has the meaning of upholding their dignity, their honor, etc. Shoving cake in their face is not doing any of that, and it's very public. Don't do it. Plus it messed with her makeup. I really wish I hadn't. Pro tip. My wife refused to let cake be smashed in her face. My family really wanted cake smashed in her face. They were calling out smash it. Smash the cake. Including my 11-year-old cousin. So I called him over, and I smashed it in his face. He loved it. My wife loved it. The crowd loved it. Pick a designated smushy. Folks, solves all problems. Wearing heels. Also letting my sister-in-law convince me to stay at her house the night before instead of a hotel. I slept on a tiny, uncomfortable futon with my giant future husband, and slept maybe an hour. Yes, my wife's grandma was stunned she was spending the night before at our place and kept trying to get her to come sleep at her grandma's house on the couch, and my wife shot her down quick. Slept an hour bed the night before and got a good night's rest before a long ass day. In all honesty, I regret dancing so much. We danced so much. We forgot to go around to individually thank everyone for coming. They all came to us on the dance floor to say hello. 10 out of 10 still dancing. I was a guest at a wedding where the bride and groom were glued to the dance floor, and I was so happy they were having fun and enjoying their day. Weddings are so often about what you're supposed to do, when really it should be your day to celebrate as you see fit. Doing the garter throw. It's just weird. I was once at a wedding where a woman accidentally elbowed her own daughter in the face trying to catch the bouquet. It was pretty funny. Shaving my pubes. A tight suit, hot weather and an itchy scrotum are a recipe for disaster. Mayo, little things you don't think of. Getting separated from my wife while at the wedding. She went to the bathroom and then got swarmed by friends and family and she disappeared what seemed like hours. Also, in general getting pulled away from each other when I would get a drink or talk to someone. The reason I regret it is because my wife looked so absolutely stunning that day and I just wanted to look at her the entire time. My wife is still hot but something about that dress. Actually it's not doing something. My wife's uncle, as our wedding gift, hired the DJ. I wanted to talk to the DJ to make sure that he'd have the songs we wanted. Don't worry about it, he has everything, so I didn't. Don't get me wrong, he did a good job, it's just that he had every song but the couple that meant something to us. You didn't even pick out your first dance? I wanted a small event for about 20 people. My fiancé agreed, but then her mom insisted they have a lot of very close and important family members they just have to invite, so we agreed on a bigger wedding, but parents supposed to pay. We searched for a wedding venue and estimated a cost for 90 guests, less than 30 were from my side of the family, but everyone was happy about it, including me at this point. They all agreed for the costs except my mom, who was widowed for 10 years at this point and couldn't afford it, so I offered I'll cover her part myself. I was working abroad and sending most of my money to my future wife and let her organize everything and trusted with whatever she was doing with that money. A few months before the wedding was due and I came back to my country, I discovered my money covered the whole wedding. Her parents ghosted the subject. That marriage didn't hold up. I calculated how much money I've put into the wedding just because of my ex-mother-in-law's delusional thinking and I'm still goddamn mad at this waste of money. Also, only 20 members of my family showed up against 60 of hers. That totally had to be invited, and the ratio of money in the envelopes from both sides was still 50-50. I'm even more mad. Parents who try to control their kids' wedding make me mad. I get it. It's a special day for them too. But it's not their special day. Getting a shitty photographer my mom recommended. Someone from her church. As we're taking pre-wedding pictures, part of the wedding picture package, I asked him during one of the breaks what got him into photography. He answered it's just something to do while I try to open my restaurant. That should have been the red flag. Same here and it sucks. It's hard to find someone decent that doesn't cost thousands of dollars. I opted for a $200 family friend and regret it to this day. Not eloping and leaving my mother-in-law in the dark. I could have had hair and makeup done. Could have had the dress of my dreams. And may even have pictures on my walls from a day I loved. I had none of those things and it still hurts. Same here, but my mom and not my mill. We had a quickie courthouse ceremony because I didn't want her alcoholism to ruin a nice wedding, and she managed to ruin it. Anyway, no dress, no cake, pictures, nothing. The marriage turned out pretty great, though. I hope yours did, too. Interesting how quite a few say they regret not eloping, but so far nobody said they regret doing it. My husband and I wanted to elope but were feeling the pressure to do something with family. COVID came around and we couldn't fly back to our home country, so we got to do the national park elopement we always wanted. My only regret was actually not having my mom and dad there, as the border is still closed so they couldn't come. But overall very happy we didn't cave to a normal wedding earlier. Going into labor. Playing beat the clock were we? I absolutely adored my wedding. If I would change one thing though, it would have been to hire a hair and makeup artist. My mill did my hair and it was fine and I did my own makeup and it was fine. But I wish I had just let myself spend that little bit extra on myself looking back. Even though we did get caught in the rain so it all would have been ruined the same either way, haha. Made for a fabulous waterfall photo though. I'm going to thoroughly search these comments as I'm due to get married in 11 months. Posing for pictures. Ended up putting so much energy into getting perfect pics we didn't spend time in the moment. Just ask your photographer to do candid shots only and focus on enjoying the day. Your pics will be great whether you try hard to have perfect photos or not, and you won't look at the album nearly as often as you might think. Not eloping. I just had a no-frills courthouse wedding. It did the job. But the magistrate was really serious. It might have been better it was some Elvis impersonator. I regret not turning around to watch my wife walk down the aisle. It was an outdoor wedding with no music. and I was told to stare at the nearby ruins so I didn't accidentally see my wife as she made her way to the back of where we had the ceremony. With no cue, I had no idea when to turn until she tapped me on the shoulder and giggled a small hi. Her dress was amazing, and the ceremony went well amidst a surprise downpour, 2 hours earlier than expected, but I really wish I had been able to watch her walk the aisle. I actually had a fantastic wedding. We got married in Vegas at the Luxor Hotel. All we had to do is show up and say I do. Pics were easy. Ceremony was easy. Buffet after was easy. It took about 15 minutes, and because it was a destination wedding, we only had very close family and friends there. Total cost was under $5,000 including flights. I wouldn't change a thing. Friend as a photographer. He's a great artist when he's not passed out at the reception. I wish I had any photos worth keeping. Well, not the wedding day precisely, but the next day. A. Duck Carnival cruises, and B. What idiot books their honeymoon travel requiring them to get up at 6 AM the day after the wedding? Oh wait, us. We're the idiots. Other than that, my wife is a phenomenal planner, so our only real regret day of and after was relying on other people for key points of transportation. My best man was an hour late picking me up. Unclench. I planned on being there hours early to help the vendors set up, so I wasn't anywhere close to late for the wedding. Then my parents were late getting us to the airport for our honeymoon flight, and we almost missed the flight, and B. the bus to the cruise line because of delays. Shout out to the limo driver with the 1920s Rolls who was driving my wife and the bridesmaids meal before the wedding, and the two of us after, though he and the car were top notch. Things we did not regret. Not overspending on flowers. Our florist was Ask Me Anything at working within a fairly tight budget, giving her a dollar range and very general color theme instead of demanding specific flowers paid incredible dividends. She was able to build amazing displays that weren't very expensive at all and tied in beautifully to the venue. The only thing my wife really had her heart set on was mango calla lilies for her bridal bouquet, but we gave orange roses to the bridesmaids and everything looked brilliant. Getting the drink upgrade package. Venue specific, but the difference between full open bar versus 3 bottles of wine on each table and cash bar was like $3 per guest. Kind of a no-brainer. Venue. To each their own. But if you're near any kind of wine country, it's shocking how reasonable prices are for events. Competition in a free market occasionally does work for consumers. Rustic stacked stone barrel house with outdoor string lighting. Full catering and the ambience of a vineyard in late September. All for about $10,000 all inclusive. Beat the hell out of the local golf courses, Elks Lodge, and other venues we looked at in terms of both absolute price and what we got for our money. A great DJ. Seriously, whoever DJs is going to be more than half of the time your guests remember. Get some personality and someone you can count on to lead the event. I had a slight advantage there since I used to work as an event DJ and hired the guy I used to work for. Then, I would say not giving more money for booze up front because we ran out and my in-laws quietly added $2,000 to the bar tab during the reception, which I'm sure cut into their fun a bit. Now, the groom. Whoa, you made it to the end? You're a ducking beast. I'll cut you a deal. Smash like and subscribe for more curated content, bruh. It's free and that's a great price.